The real question isn't what the government promises next, it's how long people will accept the gap between policy and reality. And this story is far from over.
Every day, the UK government makes promises on housing, healthcare, taxes, and national security. On paper, these policies look perfect, but the reality millions face is very different. Welcome to Power and Policy UK, where we cut through the headlines and show you what policies really mean for your life, your community, and the future of Britain. Today, we're diving into the growing divide between what the government says and what's actually happening on the ground, and why that gap is widening faster than ever. Policy versus reality is becoming one of the biggest questions facing the UK today. On paper, government policies promise stability, growth, and fairness. In real life, millions of people feel something very different. This growing gap between what is announced in Westminster and what is experienced on the streets is shaping public anger, mistrust, and political fatigue across the country. Take the cost of living. Official policy says inflation is under control and support has been delivered, yet many households are still choosing between heating and eating. Energy prices remain high, rents continue to rise, and wages have not kept pace with everyday expenses. While policy announcements focus on percentages and forecasts, reality is measured in shopping baskets, fuel meters, and bank balances that run dry before the end of the month. Housing is another clear example of this divide. Governments repeatedly promise more affordable homes, faster planning, and opportunities for young people to buy. But in reality, first-time buyers are locked out, social housing waiting lists are growing, and temporary accommodation is becoming a long-term reality for thousands. Policy targets look impressive, but the lived experience tells a story of shortage, delay, and frustration. The NHS shows the divide even more starkly. Funding pledges and reform plans are announced with confidence, yet patients face record waiting lists and overstretched services. Doctors and nurses speak openly about burnout, while people wait months or even years for treatment. Policy claims the system is being fixed, but reality suggests it is barely coping. Immigration policy also highlights the gap between promise and outcome. Tough language and strict measures are presented as solutions, yet the system remains under pressure. Backlogs grow, legal challenges continue, and communities feel the strain. What sounds decisive in speeches often becomes complex and costly in practice. Even on the global stage, policy and reality are drifting apart. Britain speaks confidently about leadership, influence, and strategic power, but trade challenges, diplomatic limits, and economic competition tell a more cautious story. The image of strength promoted by policy does not always match the influence Britain can actually exercise. So why does this divide keep growing? One reason is that policy is often designed around headlines and political cycles, while reality unfolds slowly and unevenly. Another is that success is measured differently. Governments count announcements, budgets, and legislation. People count results, fairness, and quality of life. This gap matters because trust depends on it. When people repeatedly hear promises that do not match their experience, confidence in institutions erodes. Politics starts to feel distant, scripted, and disconnected from everyday life. That disconnect fuels apathy, anger, and a sense that decisions are being made for statistics rather than people. Policy versus reality is not just a political debate, it is the story of modern Britain. The challenge ahead is not making bigger promises, but closing the gap between words and outcomes. Until that happens, the divide will continue to grow, shaping not just politics, but the future direction of the country itself. The gap between policy and reality isn't just a political debate, it affects your life, your finances, and the country's future. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines and understand the real impact of UK policies, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. Let us know in the comments, what's the policy you've seen fail in real life? We'll cover the most discussed ones in our next video. This is Power and Policy UK, where we turn policies into reality you can understand.